God saved my life. Let's talk about it. I have not been able to revisit any footage from that time, so I thought let the first video be me explaining what happened. Gave birth to my daughter, and it was the best birth ever.
You can give a little push. Give a little push here. Here she goes. There she is.
And then exactly 7 days later, I lost 3 out of my 5 liters of blood. I feel like the more I talk through it, the more I'll be able to heal. Start from my first sign. It was the middle of the night. I just fed my daughter. I laid back down and I felt a giant blood clot come out. They say after you give birth to look out for blood clots the size of like a golf ball or larger. First one was about the size of like a dollar coin. I was like, okay, that's kind of alarming. I'm just gonna keep an eye on it. I changed my diaper, went and laid back in bed. About 10 minutes later, a golf ball size blood clot passed. Called the nurse's line, but I still didn't think any big major thing was going to happen. The nurse's line told me to go to a hospital immediately and to bring a towel. And I was like, bring a towel? I'm like barely bleeding. I'm just losing blood clots at this point. But I'm like, okay. I didn't bring a towel. I should have brought a towel. I don't have any family around, so we were calling everyone we could. No one was picking up the phone. No one was waking up. So we took all 3 kids and we get in the car. There was a lot of funnier moments that happened throughout this process that I'll share in a different video. In like a Miss Rachel voice, I'm like, Teddy, could you please play some worship music? Mom could really use some worship music right now. Tell me why Nothing But the Blood of Jesus by Forrest Frank started playing. I was like, okay, anything but this right now. The hospital was like 17 minutes away. You guys, it felt like 45 minutes. And mind you, all of my kids are awake and they're in the car with us and I start bleeding out. And I'm trying to play it cool as a mom and to not alert them that anything is wrong. But I'm just looking at my husband. I'm like, I need you to drive and I need you to drive fast. Pull up to the emergency room door. I go to stand up and I felt a huge gush, like gravity took over. I look at my husband and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm gonna make it inside. He's like, you just have to go. They quickly get me a wheelchair. I'm trying to answer all these questions. At this point, I was extremely lightheaded. I felt like I was gonna pass out. They're wanting me to change into a gown, but I knew in this moment, like if I take my pants off, I was wearing black sweatpants, my kids are going to see what's actively happening. Like, thank God they didn't look at the wheelchair that carried me in that was covered in my blood. I don't know how much to share is too much to share. Thankfully, a family member came and picked them up. You know, after birth, when they come in and they push on your stomach, this was the most triggering moment for me. And I literally looked over at my husband and I was like, I think I'm not gonna make it. Doctor pushed on my stomach so extremely hard. So much came out in that moment. It sounded like a giant water balloon exploded. It was terrifying. They ended up doing an ultrasound on me and they could see leftover tissue. They weren't sure if it was placenta or some amniotic sac that my body was still pumping blood towards because it still thought that there was a baby in there that it needed to supply to, if that makes any sense.